Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Ball Ridden Podcast where we are here, me and hello Josh.
Whoa, so glad to be back on probably the best week that we're going to have doing this.
A special week of the 2026 College Football Player Profile Preview Week. Shit, what week is this? 8, 9? I should have
Like
came
eight?
I should have came prepared.
Uh-oh.
Week 8. Week 8. Week 8 and we are going to hit our what would be considered the last position group, I guess. Set it to special week. We're going to head over to the third phase of the game of football, special teams.
Yeah, special teams, special plays, special football. And when, this is the forgotten part of the game though. And I'm very excited about today because the exciting part about today is because you ever think about 10 years ago, like the SEC, like the SEC had horrendous kickers
Yeah,
back in the day, and it was because they weren't wasting scholarships on kickers.
yeah,
But like now you're seeing because they can just pay a kid, a lot of those kids aren't going to the MAC anymore. They're going to the SEC teams right out of high school. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun day though.
yeah. As soon as you have one good year as a kicker, punter, whatever, you're immediately getting a payday if you're at a smaller school. But it is cool too with a lot of these are the true unknown names, I guess you would say. Kicker, I feel like kind of a loaded. The two names we got, and then I mean we didn't even have the Groza Award winner is returning too. Tate Sandell at Oklahoma. We're not even gonna hit on him, but maybe a loaded year of kickers.
Yeah, it's you know it could be loaded. You never know
Yeah,
because
you never know.
at the end of the day, it's by the saying is always the college kicker moment.
Remember Grady Gross at Washington? He was like he was insane as a freshman, and then he literally just turned into a complete joke. But yeah, you never know with these special teamers. But did you ever play any special teams back in your playing days?
uh Gunner, nothing. I think I kicked one time in like eighth grade and just missed, and they never put me back there again.
They never threw you back there to punt or anything.
I think maybe like when I was like a kid.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe youth football, but without further ado,
Definitely wasn't good.
without further ado, we can get into it. I'll kick us off here with my first special teamer. I got Lucas Carneiro, who is the kicker at Ole Miss. If you remember, this guy was, I mean, outside of Trinidad Chambliss, maybe the star player for Ole Miss in that college football playoff run. I mean, he was insane. Against Georgia, he hits from 55 and 56, then hits the game winner from 47 to seal the deal. But if you remember, I mean, he wasn't just hitting those kicks. He was like, those things were going in like 3/4 of the way up the field goal post. It looked like they were good from
Yeah,
70. But outside of that, had a phenomenal year, 56 of 56 on extra points. Has never missed an extra point in his entire college career. 31 of 35 on field goals, 9 of 10 from 40 to 49, and 5 for 7 from 50 plus. Prior to Ole Miss, though, last year was his first season at Ole Miss. He was the kicker at Western Kentucky, where we talked about these small schools find these kickers and then immediately they get a payday and head off to a bigger college. He won CUSA player or Special Teams Player of the Year there, though, in his sophomore season when he went 18 and 19. Was 6 for 6 from 50 plus there. So this kid's got a strong ass leg. I mean, we talked about the way he was drilling field goals. Against Georgia from 50 plus. Also had his career long and his long of the season last year against Miami when he hit from 58 right before halftime. Had four field goals in that game. He had how many games was it? He scored double digit points in 10 games last season. So he was a massive part of their team just scoring wise. And a lot of the games where he scored a lot or made a lot of kicks were games that ended up being close, and he was kind of a difference maker. So I mean, you talk about a weapon. He is a massive weapon for Ole Miss, especially with how high powered their offense should be. I mean, anytime they get past the 50-yard line, they're thinking at least 3 points probably.
Right. I think that was the biggest factor with Ole Miss, especially in that. I mean, dude, this dude was absolute nails
It was
in the
insane,
playoff. Like
insane.
it was, they were if you were crossing the 50-yard line, which it was very easy for the Ole Miss offense to do last year, he was literally drilling the field goal. So I think like, and that's why the kicking aspect of the game is so important in college because if you can find a kid like that. Uh, I mean, you completely changed the game. I remember like when we were watching, like I think I was texting you, like, dude, this kid's gonna get paid like $5 million. Actually, I thought Ohio State was gonna grab this kid.
That's not to get into who you're gonna go with next, but I was like, Ohio State should give this kid a blank check with the kicking issues they've had.
Right, and I was surprised that they didn't. But this kid is like actually legit. Like, he's one of the ones that you see that I would not be surprised a team actually takes a draft pick on.
Yes.
Like late like the seventh round or something like that, because he's like worth it, and he he could turn out to be like a Robert Aguayo, but like he's like from the looks of it, like right now, like he's just insane.
The way he did it too last year in the playoff when the moment was the biggest. I mean, just watch that. Go back and watch the game winning kick against Georgia. I mean, just right down the middle, 3/4 of the way up. I think it was from 47. Probably would have been good from 70, but just cool, calm, collected. I was reading an article that said he was actually, I don't know how true this is. You know, people can say whatever, but he said he and his dad were sitting at, he was home for Christmas like a week before that Georgia game, and him and his dad were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I think this game might come down to me." Like he said, he felt like he could see himself kicking a game winning field goal. So kind of manifested that moment if that's true, but a little more on him. I mentioned he started at Western Kentucky before there. Kind of has what I would say is a modern day kicker story. Was a high school soccer player. Football team needs a kicker. Coach says, "Hey, you got a strong leg. We want you to kick." He actually didn't want to do that. So as a freshman, I guess he was able to get away from it and tell them no. And then the story goes, sophomore year, his mom just showed up one day to school and brought him his cleats and said, "Hey, you're doing this," because I guess they saw a path in football to have his school paid for in a scholarship, which ultimately didn't work out because I guess senior year he didn't work out initially. Sorry, senior year he has a quad injury, messes up his recruitment, so he has to walk on at Western Kentucky and quickly earned a scholarship though, and it's paid off big time. Like you said, I'm sure he got a large sum of money to return to Ole Miss this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, but I think because we already had the great segue from Ohio State, I'm gonna go with my kid, and my kid's gonna be Connor Hawkins, and so Connor, he's very interesting because he's gonna be the kicker now for Ohio State, a transfer from Baylor, um, and you know he he's good, he's a good kicker, but I'm questioning. I'm questioning Ohio State's method to grabbing a kid. You know, I'm intrigued. So Connor, let's go back to Connor for a second. He he's pretty. He had a pretty solid year last year. Was a starting kicker last year at Baylor. David Arana obviously wasn't scoring a whole lot. So his defense was getting scored on a lot, but he wasn't really putting his teams and score a lot. But you know. He, I think an interesting note for him is he hit every field goal under 40 yards that he had, and that's kind of like where you're in the range for Ohio State, like
That's what you expect out of a college kicker, right?
right, and especially at Ohio State, you're basically driving and getting within the 30-yard line every single time you get the football. And we've seen recently, in the past couple of years, Ohio State's kicking has been their absolute. It's been a fork in the road. It's been horrible for
It's
them.
been the one question mark or one thing that makes Ohio State fans feel uncomfortable has been their kicker, most notably Jaden Fielding, who I would say has probably
Right,
been the most hated man in Columbus the past couple years.
right, exactly. And I want to point. So he went 5 for 8 from 40 to 49 last year. Um, and that that's a spot that kind of concerns me because I was looking and he was barely a bit more accurate than Jay Fielding was, and he hasn't kicked in that same scenario. He was 3 for 4 last season, over 50 yards. So he has the leg, he can do it. But when you compare him really down to Jay Fielding, I just get concerned for Ohio State because Jay Fielding last season was 40 of 49, or sorry, what am I saying? 3 of 4 in that range, 75% kicker. Uh, you're taking a kid who's, in the 60% range and in that spot, and you're expecting him to come in and be able to be a standout. Uh, I'm just concerned Ohio State, you know, thinks they have a kicker, but you know, I do root for Ohio State kickers.
As soon as he misses one kick, it's over. It's over.
And that's where I'm concerned for him is that he hasn't being at Baylor hasn't kicked in the same environment that Ohio State. It's the reality of what it is. Dave Aranda's team in the last 2 seasons were not putting themselves in positions to actually like win important games.
Hmm.
So critical field goals did not happen.
He had 2 game winners, but like you said, not
Yeah,
not like they weren't high stakes or anything really.
exactly. They're not very high stake games where it's just hard to imagine making that transition, especially like being in the kicking spot. I would be concerned for this kid's mental health.
I
You
mean,
know,
yeah.
I I just I mean you got to be kind of crazy. What do you got to be kind of crazy to take the Ohio State kicking job, right?
I thinking outside of quarterback position, is there a position with more pressure in college football right now than Ohio State kicker?
I honestly don't think there is. I think
I don't think so.
I'm rooting for Connor Hawkins. I'm very excited, to watch him play. But I do think the important thing about Connor is that he scored over 6 points in every single game last year, except for the one where he scored 5 against Arizona. So like he was kicking a good amount. Um, had multiple had multiple field goal games. Um, had a game and went 3 for 4. Finished the season going 3 for 3 against Houston. And he kicked his season long 54 yarder. But so he kind of was heating up towards the end of the season. But it's just it's just a whole different animal that you're talking when you're kicking for Ohio State. That's why I wanted to point him out. Uh, he you know, and he's from Texas too. So like he's going into a very uncomfortable situation going up to Ohio State, being that he literally grew up in Texas, went to Baylor, was not in a high pressure situation comparative to what Ohio State is and where they have been and what their kickers have done to them in the last couple seasons.
It's less about Connor Hawkins and it's more about the Ohio State kicking position. And like you said, like Fielding was, if you look at his stats, I mean, he was a solid kicker. But what's he remembered for? He fucked up in the big moments, missing kicks against Michigan, missed against Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
You
that was
go
bad.
all the way back to I think it was Ruggles was his name, who missed the kick in the college football playoff game against
At
Georgia. I mean,
at
it's like a
midnight.
yeah, when the ball drop, it's just a cursed position at this point. And being around Ohio State fans in Columbus, I mean, that's all they talked about last year was the kicker. The kicker is what worries me. Everything else is good, but the kicker. So you know, yeah, I hope for the best for Connor Hawkins because you do worry about the kid. I mean, any kicker, it's so much of a mental game. It's almost more like golf than it is football. But as soon as he misses a kick, uh, things will probably get loud because they also probably did spend a good amount of money on him. But it's yeah, for him, it's all going to be about that first big kick in a big game, which could come as early as week 1 against Texas, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to note too when you talk about kickers, it it kind of is like golf. Like
every single kicker kind of like there's not really some that are way more outstanding than everyone else. Obviously, there's your rare kids, and those are kids that are going to go on to the NFL, stay on the same roster for 30 seasons. But like for the most part, they're all very good.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even like in what division you're going to. Like if you're a starting college kicker, you're very good. The biggest part of it is literally just your mental game. Like you can go across all divisions and find kids that are hitting 55 plus yarders. Kids are doing that in high school now. But yeah, it's definitely the mental aspect, and you know, Connor Hawkins. I hope you got to have David Goggins as like your mental therapist or something because I'm rooting for you.
Last thing before we move on to another player, because we'll be done with kickers. I don't know if I posed this question to you. I think it was to my dad. But do you think kicking like what kickers are hitting now at the max distance? Do you think that is maxed out, or do you think in like 10 to 5 to 10 years, like 70 yarders are going to be normal? Because 5, 10 years ago, 50 was not normal. 40, 45 was probably not normal. And now it's like normal. So like, do you think kicking has maxed out, or we'll see it grow?
I think we're gonna see some like crazy shoe technology
Oh
that like
God.
AI is gonna be able to create some like mathematically perfect shoe that's gonna be able to add distance. But I also do think though like the way the way that kicking has exploded kind of in the last like 10 years, like there's all these like kicking camps and everything like this and like all these ratings for like kickers now, which is like you really never saw uh you know 10, 15 years ago, and now you have all this stuff. I think though, I think we're gonna hit a max of like I I don't think it's done yet, but I don't think it's gonna be that you know like was it Daniel Carlson was considered like the greatest kicker ever, and he was just nailing like 50 yarders.
Yeah,
Uh, and and now we have guys every day that are hitting 60s. I don't think we're gonna have the huge like expansion to guys absolutely just drilling 70s consistently, but I do think we could see like a 68-yard range be able to be like, oh, 68 yards. He's made like 10 of these in his career. Um,
I
I,
agree.
think- I think that'll probably be about the max.
Yeah, I think we're near the. I think we're near already the range where it gets normalized, but I could see a select few guys that find hit long, make the longest field goal of all time will probably keep getting broken and so on and so forth. But I think the max range for what's regular is almost set. All right, that's enough with kickers. Well, kind of. I'm gonna go with my next player, who is the right hand man, you could say, of the kickers. Maybe the most niche, maybe the easiest position in football. I'm going with a holder. And I kind of hated to do this because it's not a small lesser known name, which I felt would be cool to highlight, especially with special teams. But I'm going with Gunnar Stockton, Georgia's quarterback, also Georgia's field goal holder. So Georgia's actually, it's kind of been interesting going all the way back to a Stetson Bennett. Their past three starting quarterbacks have been the field goal holders. So Stetson Bennett did it, Carson Beck did it, and then when Gunnar Stockton took over, he became the starting holder. Um, Kind of a weird thing you don't always see. I think what like 10 years ago, it might have been more of like a backup QB role, and then it turned into the what it is now, which I think is normally punters are the holder. I don't really know what the main reason is for that. I'd assume just because kicker and punter spend the most time together, but I don't know. It's a weird position that I feel like is a lot harder. Like I would hate to be back there having to catch the snap in a big moment. Like everyone talks about the kicker's nerves, but what about the snapper who's got to catch a ball that's getting rifled back to him and get it spotted perfectly, the laces turn and all that. But just a weird position, and I think he is maybe the probably not the only, but one of very few starting quarterbacks that's getting thrown out there to hold.
Yeah, it's him being, it's crazy that Georgia does that. But like you said, it is probably the most the most
untalked about position in football, and it because every time you see like a kick missed, it's like, oh, that's on the kicker. There's a lot of times like if the holder's still fumbling there, the kicker like is it has to like freeze for a second. It's on the holder. So I think though that like when you take him for example, like maybe it's just the repetition of reps, and that's why it's like, all right, let's keep him out there, even though he is a starting quarterback. Um,
I think that's huge though to have a guy who's been in the game catching snaps throughout the game instead of just throwing some guy out there in a huge moment who's punted the ball maybe once or twice throughout the course of the game. But a guy who's been in the game, has felt the momentum, the ups and downs of the game, is used to being in and won't like crumble under pressure.
yeah, I think that is one of the most important parts about it. Like I guess like the whole factor of like trying to keep guys warm that are warm, and
Yes,
you know,
that's what I was trying to
yeah.
say.
So I think that's a good point that you make. Like it isn't really talked about.
And then of course having a kind of an obvious point, but I mean having a starting quarterback being your holder opens up or makes it a lot easier to run a fake if you want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. He's part there, but yeah, still, it's crazy because like you, there's times not that like any team would ever take a dirty shot, but like holders can get hit pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So like you're really putting your starting quarterback in a vulnerable spot. Uh, having him sit down there. So and God forbid anything went bad. Like you're talking about a guy that like his throwing hand could literally get kicked.
Yeah, I think he holds with his opposite hand, but that is one thing I thought about. Like
Yeah.
you're putting your team, I mean the right hand of Gunnar Stockton, if he was holding with that, I think he holds with his left. But one more thing about holders that I found that was kind of neat. Dabo Sweeney's sons, how they all his sons are on the team as walk-ons or whatever at Clemson, and they're all actually the holders. And I believe it's the youngest this year is in his fifth year, which will be his last year. And I found a stat on their page. So he's had three sons. This is the youngest or the last one that's on the team this year. And the last place kick that was held by a non-Sweeney was the final extra point of Clemson's national championship victory against Alabama in 2016. So since 2016, they've had one of Dabo's sons holding field goals, which is kind of crazy.
That is one of the most absurd stats. I guess though, if you're gonna have your kids, play on the roster, and they're gonna be turds, like you might as well
They're
make
on
them
they're
do
on they're on
something.
the field. They're getting on the
Yeah,
field. But yeah, if they fuck up, whoof,
yeah,
it's
oh
catching
yeah.
some heat.
It's all right. That will just pray about it. It's okay. All right, all right. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
Go
go to
ahead.
mine, and we're hitting a lot of spots here. It's funny we're skipping over. You know, one of the spots, but I'm going with long snapper. All right, and I'm going with Hudson Powell of Auburn. Okay, this kid is legit. All right, he's awesome, great person. First of all, second of all, transfers to Auburn in the goalish system. What does that say about goalish being able to wanting to grab? you know, a long snapper when he gets to Auburn. That's how you know this kid is legit.
I heard it was his first phone call when he got the
It was
job.
a Byron Brown, and then it was Hudson Powell, and but you know. My favorite part about Hudson Powell is, and one of the reasons I want to talk about him, he recovered a fumble against Notre Dame. It's- and like, you
That's
know,
something you talk about the rest of your life.
right, like you can laugh and all this stuff, and like sometimes you see this like the long snapper making a great tackle or everything like that, but recovering a fumble against Notre Dame as a long snapper, you're talking about something that like for history is it like I get a tackle go down, but there's a lot of tackles made in the game.
Yeah.
You're talking about a turnover, you know that you're a part of in history, and that's why I want to talk about him. I think it's awesome though that he transferred to Auburn. I did see this week he just had to deal with Hattie B's
fried chicken. So he's from Nashville, so he was very excited about that. Um, but yeah, I do think though, you know, I I'm not sure how it worked. I know he was a 5-star coming out like in like long snapper rankings coming out of high school, but and then he was a 5-star again coming out like when he entered the portal. I don't know though, like how like well, you know what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying?
It,
Like who's I know there's like a snap time, but
dude, they count
like
like rotations now, which
right.
the laces have to be an exact spot where they catch it. Like it's crazy. I don't know how in depth they are with it in college, but I know in the pro, I mean, if you're not getting it back there in the millisecond range that they want, or the laces are an inch in the wrong direction when it gets back there, you're getting cut. But yeah, in college, especially coming out of high school, like you talked about how these special teams positions have their own star system, I guess you could say, is pretty crazy. I guess you just go to one camp and some guy sits there with his stopwatch or whatever, and if you make a time, it's like, oh, 5-star.
Yeah. You make it in time. Oh, 5-star. I love that. But no, I mean that's what's like. But I will say he's just a good kid though. He's friends with you know one of my old grows the semifinalist and grows a finalist kickers Dominic Jobin of Miami, Ohio. So they're a tandem group, and he goes on. Dom graduates and he goes on to Auburn. Like there's like a little breakup.
Yeah, did you even say he transferred from Miami? Looks like he
I
was
did. I
started.
did.
I don't. My bad. He was the long snapper there. What, past 2 years? It looks like played in
Yeah, the
27
past two
games.
seasons. So like he's played in like a ton of football games. Like which I also think is important because and what's cool about that is that Miami was good the last 2 years and they played in a lot of tight like I guess what would you consider like the biggest possible games that you could have probably for Miami. He's snapped in and again another thing like just like Holder like no one notices until you fuck up
Yeah,
and I think it's important that he's played in some of those big games because honestly some of those games are probably bigger than Auburn's other than like the Alabama game 2 years ago when they should have won. There was not a lot of good games in Auburn happening the last 2 seasons, so he's played in some big games comparative to what he's been playing in. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for his whole Alex Golis, system going down
yeah,
in
and
Auburn.
hopefully he doesn't have to. Well, punt snap, I guess. I always forget about the field goal snap. I feel like that's pretty. I don't know. I feel like it's weird, harder.
Yeah,
That's the one too where you need the laces to be perfect, but the distance I feel like is just weird because you really got to fire it back there, but they're so close.
yeah, it is weird, but yeah, I wonder. I don't. It's probably the same for like everyone, but I'm sure like each person has their own like because like you see sometimes like how kickers or punters like some people like to offset left or offset right or be like straight back, so it's different like what you see. So I'm curious to see like if it's gonna be the same that he was like dealing with at Miami, Ohio, or if it's like a little bit off because like I don't know if that affects them. I don't know if that changed anything, but
They got
I
enough.
mean
They
I'm
got
gonna
enough
I'll
time to
text him.
work. They got enough time to work on it.
I'm gonna text him and ask, and I'll have an answer for next week's show.
Yeah, we should have had him on, I guess, if you could have got in connect. Because what the hell do we know? We're trying to talk about long snapping, like we're some experts in long snapping.
Oh man, yeah. Hey, all I know is was it you put like 3 fingers towards the front of the ball, and then in the right hand.
You're basically just throwing it, I think, with one hand, and then the other one's just like the
Yeah,
guide hand. It's just like how you would throw a football, which is weird, but they get
yeah.
that thing
It doesn't make
moving.
any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me.
They fire that thing though.
Yeah, yeah. They it comes in hot. So yeah. All right. Well, that'll be Hudson Powell, Auburn long snapper.
Great way to finish. That will wrap up this. What do we say? Eighth edition of the 2026 College Football Player Profile Preview with the specialists. We had Lucas Carneiro, kicker at Ole Miss. Connor Hawkins, Ohio State's kicker, who transferred him from Baylor. Um, Hudson Powell, Auburn Long Snapper, and Gunnar Stockton, Georgia's holder, and also starting quarterback. But
Yeah, and that's all it is. Georgia's holding. I like
yeah,
it.
Georgia's starting holder. That's
No,
what he
known,
should be known
known
for.
Georgia holder, known Georgia holder, Gunner Stockton. That's how he's got to be referred to.
If he wins like the Heisman, they should always put that up like Gunnar Stockton QB / holder.
That'd be actually really funny. Like they just like mark it like a holder just won the Heisman.
All right, Josh. Thanks for joining as always. Couple more weeks until the start of the season. We're getting close.
Yeah, right around the corner. It's coming quick, and kind of just last thing real quick. Small week zero, but kind of some solid slate games. Uh, for what it is. So I'm excited, and FCS is loaded for whatever reason. Like,
Week 0.
yeah, they had a lot of games. Week zero, like before week one, like they have a ton of games on like the Friday, not even like the Saturday. They have a ton of games on Friday, so like they're gonna be like premier, getting a lot of TV time.
Well, that's very smart then for them to do that. But yeah, this week 0 slate is FBS level at least, way more, a lot more games than usual. But also, yeah, there's a lot of good matchups in there. We'll probably get a full week 0 in-depth analysis hopefully before the season starts here soon. So, Josh, thanks for joining as always. Everyone, thanks for listening. Have a good weekend. Peace.